Welcome to Recovery Unleashed, the podcast where we dive deep into transformation, healing, high performance, and recovery. I'm your host, Hannah Dalby. I'm the founder of Recovery Jungle, Recovery Unleashed. I'm an integral alchemist, food coach, a recovery expert, and also a retired professional Muay Thai fighter and current jiu-jitsu lover. In each episode, we explore what it truly takes to break free from addiction, trauma, self-sabotage, and unlocking a life truly filled with energy, success, and peace. Through my very own story of addiction recovery and raw conversations with experts, coaches, athletes, healers, we uncover the tools and mindset shifts needed to master recovery in every area of your life. This isn't just about healing, this is about unleashing your full potential. If you're ready to reclaim your life, tune in, do the work, and let's rise together. In today's episode, I sit down with one of my favorite humans, Sophia Houridis. She's a mind coach and remedial therapist based in Adelaide. Sophia has an incredible ability to articulate her streams of consciousness and understand the person sitting in front of her. She was the second therapist I worked with and played a pivotal role during a time when I had maintained sobriety for the first time in a decade, despite a relapse that I did manage to hide from her. In this really raw and honest conversation, we discussed the complexities of addiction, the courage it took to reveal my struggles to my parents just a day before this recording, and how addictions can manifest beyond substances, often rooted in simple fears and desires. This episode offers deep insights into the human experience, self-discovery, and the multifaceted nature of healing. Joining us today is my beautiful friend, Sophia Houridis, who I have known since about 2017. She came into my life as a therapist and teacher on the very close side of me getting clean from my drug addiction, when I was probably in the midst of relapsing slightly as well. And she was one of the reasons I came out the other side, teaching me the things that she taught me and showing me the things inside of myself I didn't know were there. In the time knowing her, she also took me on my first fasting journey, which is a huge part of the business now and absolutely changed my life, and taught me about the first learnings of how our emotions can be linked to our bodies and our weight gain. And I love her very, very much, and I'm very excited to have her. Is there anything you want to say about what you do?
Yeah, sure. So I do something called Inner Direction, and what that is basically is, I guess I'm part of a league of a lot of people, which would probably include yourself, which is just trying to help people raise their altitude mentally, physically, and emotionally and spiritually. So within a direction, I just help people connect to the true self or the soul, and I'm really good with methods and tools to sort of give you tactics on how to play the game or get played.
It's actually really magical.
It's fun.
So I guess to reaffirm the intention for this, what I'm doing here, I was a drug addict for 10 years and, had lots of other addictions through my life. And I want to tell the story to the world to show that coming from that place and to a place where I am now running businesses and being an athlete, and I feel really connected to myself and to my heart and being really open and vulnerable, and how even those things has led me to come out of that into this beautiful place and show other people what's possible on a big scale. How can we change culture because of all of those things?
It's interesting because in your intro, you were talking about that hardest part of the drug addiction. I can't remember all the bits and pieces, but during that time, when you came to me, it's the intention, that's the point of magnetics intention that I like to pay attention to, of why someone connects with you to work with them. So in your intro, you were saying that that was that peak addiction time, but I wasn't perceiving that at that time, hearing you talk. All I heard was this person's wanting to play the game because they've been played. And the funny thing about therapy is, these are not my quotes. We've all found them on Instagram 5 times a day, is energy flows where your attention goes. What you put your attention on, you bring to life. So in the healing game, it's a bit of a trip, man, because you can go for resolve and go for, a dump hunt, just go pledging through your garbage and looking forever where that came from, what was this? But also, wouldn't you rather to collapse the timeline and create a new one? So I wasn't aware of that until you just spoke then. During that time, dare I say, demons you were fighting. We were just casting a line to your northern stars.
Yeah, 100%.
Ship is going down.
Yeah.
So that's a bit of new information for me.
Which is actually kind of what I'm going to do in all of this, because it's new information for a lot of people. And I've spoken about it a lot in the last couple of months because I'm going to do this. And people I've known for 18 years have said, you hit it very well. I told my parents yesterday, and I really thought that they knew and were just like, we just don't talk about it. And they were shocked. They were like, are you serious? Like, what? How? And I'm like, how did no one know? I felt like I was in chaos. I felt like I was behaving.
I mean, this could go many directions. Like, I reckon that hearing that line, you hit it very well. I reckon most of us could resonate with that line.
Yeah.
And it's kind of like the greatest trick the devil ever played was proving to the world that it didn't exist.
100%.
I think I said this to you once before. This is not my own words, but how it was taught to me through a spiritual teacher. Something devastating happens, some kind of abuse, say, in a family, and the child approaches the parent and tells them this happened. And in that moment, it is so bad that it just can't be true. So therefore it's not. And that's how that darker side can keep living and breeding, because this is, again, I'm quoting her, not me, is Caroline May said, weakness feeds darkness and evil dwells there. So I think a lot of people hearing you say, but people would say to you, how did you, like you hit it so well. I think it's the game. Like we want to turn all the lights on. If we can keep it, it wins another day.
Yeah.
And that's that play will be played. It's game on all the time.
And I watch it in everyone that I work with. It's not drugs. It's like this demon that they have, and it's absolutely not in existence as far as they're concerned.
You're talking about other things.
Other
than
things,
drugs.
yeah.
Everything,
Yeah.
for sure,
Like
for sure.
it can be, I watch business owners tell me that they're absolutely not working too hard and there's nothing they can do about it. They must do this, and it is absolutely okay, and it is the only way forward. You know, and I'm watching them go do that manic behavior to hide from the thing that they're refusing to see, and I can see it.
So that thing that they're refusing to see is whether they're in survival, whether they're in lack and thinking there's not enough for everyone, so I've got to fight for my crust for the day, like living, what kind of?
I actually feel like that behavior is the same behavior that a drug addict would have. I don't want to feel my feelings. I don't want to look at the demons. I don't want to be in that space. And so I have to stay busy, and I have to be disconnected, and I have to keep my mind completely elsewhere for every single moment of the day.
That's funny, man, because like life is simple and we'll do whatever we can to complicate it. If they don't, it's just not being able to slow down. And that thing that's tripping you, it's pretty simple. That would be things like, I'm not wanting to be like that guy. Or I don't know. Like it's never an actual monster. It's just a thought you can't stop thinking that's possessed you. We all see it, and it's important that we see it and don't judge it, because if you're receptive to it and you start to alter, and whether that altering is judging, resisting, there's a little game on for you right there, because you really only ever are the only one in the room at all times. So I'm curious to what I'm thinking and feeling when I observe that. Like, am I trying to help it?
Yeah.
Am I judging it? And I haven't mastered it.
Yeah.
But I'm almost more interested in what am I up to, because we had said before we turned on, like we're all gatekeepers to liberation.
Yes.
And I think that's the most beautiful part, because what is happening inside of you when you're witnessing it, you can change someone's life. You might have to do it in funny ways. Sometimes you got to do something out of the ordinary to give someone their extraordinary. There's a real elegance to that, and I guess you can execute it when you know yourself to a degree, because when you know yourself, you'd never be harsh to someone suffering. You'd never do it.
Yeah. I think that's actually where this has landed now. Like that's actually the beautiful thing about this whole process, is coming to a place where it almost feels like it's today. It's like today I fully know myself into a place where I couldn't possibly be mean. I was saying it to my parents yesterday, like, you know, in delivering this information to them, like all is forgiven. And to everyone that was a part of that journey.
Did that include them?
Yeah. Yeah, because I was watching them come back at like ready to, like it wasn't and I'm like, play the blame game.
I don't need you to say,
I don't need your side of the story. It's all like all is forgiven. I can explain the reasons of why it landed this way and why my decision making was this way, but all is forgiven. And even to the people that were really abusive to me in parts of my life, like all is forgiven. And in the truth and the honesty that I've been able to portray, like yesterday, today is like I truly know who I am and what I want. and I can never judge or in a place of how could you possibly behave like that in your pain. Like, it's like, I'm okay. Like, I see that.
For you, when you did that,
Yeah.
and you did you say to them, quote, all is forgiven? Like,
Yeah.
Yeah. So did a understanding occur in you to reach forgiveness? Like, what was the happening that opened your heart?
That was a process.
Right.
That was a really big process. I mean, you were saying to me the other day about we've got to get away from this parent trauma thing.
Yeah.
But it was, a lot of my work was parent trauma.
That same thing of 10 years in the making, but happened in a moment.
Yeah. So it was like, it was the work with.
So you were understanding over years and years with the intent to liberate yourself. So I don't know, is that,
right,
gotcha,
right. So even though I was, there was moments maybe a year ago when I was like, oh yeah, like I forgive you and it's fine. And my dad and I had come to a place where I thought it was fine, but then I would, be in session or be working through something and still be so mad at him. And there was maybe about 2 months ago, he had a settlement with his ex-partner, and I really felt in that moment, I'm like, I think all is really forgiven now, and we can just stop being this fight of parent and daughter, and we can just be friends now. And it's just done. It's just really done. Even if I'm triggered, it's no longer your fault.
Did they say anything at all when you said, like, all is forgiven? Was there any
I watched them
feedback?
both just completely relax. Like, they were like, oh, because it would be really hard for them to hear and then be thinking back on all of the moments that they might have caused this. You don't need to explain. You don't need to tell me why. Like, you did the best that you could with the tools that you had in the moment. And so did I. Like, this whole journey that I did, I chose the things I thought were the best thing for me in that moment.
So did you feel like you saw a burden lift off of that?
Yeah.
If you had an energetic, one of those cool cameras that can read auras.
Yeah.
Could you imagine how altered they are? And there's a guy called Jürgen Schmidt. He's the Adelaide's greatest unkept secret. But when you do something like that, especially because you had the voltage of having your parents there, that drops this current into this grid that feeds all of us. And you open that door to anyone who's in a proximity that has that frequency to heal and resolve. And that's why when you do it to yourself, you do it to the whole.
Yeah.
And that actually happens. Like, that is like dropping a love bomb.
Yeah.
And anyone who's got that similar altitude who's ready, if they're receptive, that current will hit them.
Yeah.
And it just keeps rippling out for the whole.
That's so beautiful.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's wild what you did. Well done.
Thank you.
Yeah, I mean, that would still be having an impact on them as we speak.
Very much so. I mean,
that was yesterday.
the messages I've had back from my mum is it's connective. And it's so subtly different. So subtly different, but it's connective. It's not, what are you doing today? It's like, how are you? Like, really, I can feel it, and there's something starting to open. And I had lunch with my dad and my nana today, and I just was like, oh, like, I can just be here, and I can feel them witness me and see me, and they're seeing all of me. And so I'm really safe to be in this world now as all of me, because the one person that I thought would judge me the most can now see all of me and accepts that.
Do you think that that's got anything to do with this, whatever, how many years, 10 years in the making, happening in a moment? Perhaps part of those 10 years was your soul begging for you to, like, when you're interacting, you're face to face with someone.
Yeah.
And we can't help it, but we intuitively try to read and gauge the conversation on where to press and where to push and pull. But do you reckon, like, over those 10 years, this like little part of you popped out and came face to face with you more and more, so you were gauging what you need more than what the person
100%.
So what really would have happened is you just collapsed a lot of time and you really saw yourself. You really fed yourself. And when we do that, we become more congruent and we're more coherent. So when you really saw who you were, all they could see was that. So sometimes it might have even happened over time. Who knows? I don't want to change things with or without a confession. But
would have been there anyway.
But the wholeness of you was there. So therefore they could only meet you at a certain place.
Yeah.
There's no other way. Your altitude, you can either climb.
Yeah.
Otherwise they wouldn't be able to have communicated with you. As in, like, feels like when you're talking that you came face to face with you and you liked what you saw. And you accepted what you saw. And you kept wanting to bloom what you saw.
Yeah. It was actually I went to an Aubrey Marcus
Oh, right.
fit for
Where?
service thing in Montana, and I was in a breath work. And because I've done so much plant medicine, like 10 minutes in and I'm like in another dimension.
Right.
There was like a lot of release, but when I came back and I was kind of becoming a little bit conscious again, there was this feeling of love and being loved. And I was like, oh, like everyone in this room really does love you, and Aubrey loves you, and Caitlin loves you, and everyone like you are so loved, and feeling all of that. And then I was like, I love you. I love me too.
Yeah.
Like, wow.
Yeah.
And in that, and like, but then witnessing all the past versions of me and loving them too. And I was like every single tiny part and every way you've ever shown up, like I love all of you. You can come home now. This is unconditional love. So it actually landed then. And then it was like, I feel like this last 3 months has been an integration of that. You can.
I'm so interested in so many things that happen on this planet. I'm forever digging to know the truth of the where and the how. And I wanted to know, because a lot of creatures in plant life were introduced here from forms of intelligence, other beings. So I wanted to know, where does ayahuasca come from? Like, where's its origins? Because in the indigenous communities, when they're asked about how did you know to work with this plant, how did you know how to treat it? In Australia, in the Amazon, somewhere near Siberia, they all respond the same, which was we don't know. The star people tell us. So I did a little bit of work on dreams with one shaman. I wanted to work highly with the dream realm. So he taught me a few things, but he said that I've had it from two sources. So I'm trying to give names, so I'm not just saying I saw this cool thing. It's Planet 9, and it has another name. And I read it in a book recently, and I thought, oh, I should write that down so I can remember it. But I always want to know, where does that actually come from? Because species are always being introduced and taken to help us evolve. Like
the story that I know of the Bufalo Various medicine is that a guy was on an ayahuasca journey, and it showed him that there is the next medicine that's going to come through, and you got to go to the Mexican desert. So he spent 3 months in the desert, like smoking everything. And then the rains came and the toads came out, and he was almost done, and he was like, I'm going to smoke that. And so Bufo exists. So 5-MeO-DMT exists.
Do you know how long ago that
70s.
was? In the 70s.
So it's so new.
Wow, yeah.
And I feel like it's the thing that is so required now. Like it's my favorite medicine.
And I guess like things are happening to you without realizing they're happening to you. We want to like do this thing and become this thing. But it's really just getting on to finding that sweet song that our soul is playing in us, and we hear the tune, but we're out of tune, and we just want to sing our song. And I guess that's kind of what I feel when I'm working with people. It's like they're off beat. They just want to find their rhythm so they can keep singing, like, and keep calling with their song. There is got to be space for serendipity, like no different than when you're sleeping, where your best recovery happens. I remember this awesome interview with Khabib Nurmagomedov. I didn't say it accurately, but we know who I'm talking about. When they asked him about his recovery program, he goes, I eat, I train, I sleep.
Yeah.
And he goes, that's recovery.
Yeah.
Sleep is a recovery. Yeah. And in that space, that thing happens to you that you cannot do your own. So with that experience that you had overseas, and then you just sort of started singing your song.
Yeah.
So that unconditional love was having a way with you, and you were just dancing with the divine.
Yeah.
It was having a way with you. You were officially in the dance, that place that everybody wants to get to.
Yeah.
And you never know when you get into it where it's going to pull you out, twist you, swirl you, dip you, lift you. Like it's a sweet dance.
Yeah.
And a part of that, those great moves on the floor was what you conducted with your parents. I mean, that could be a potential. I don't want to put ideas and thoughts into your head, but something's always up to something, whether it's you or an energy, whatever you're playing with. So
it's interesting that you say that, because I'm fairly sure the very next day there was a session done around this thing called a death cookie.
Well, hang on a minute. From the
very next day, there was a process that we were doing. We had to write down our death cookies. And so the idea that we were taught was spend an hour every day eating death cookies. And so we had to write down what our death cookies were. And it was just like an exercise. So all the things you know you need to do that you aren't doing. And it came out. I didn't know that I needed to do it. And it was like, tell dad. And I was like, And I ran back to the room, bawling my eyes out. Oh my God, like so terrified. Like, I know I have to do this thing. So that moment and then that dance, 100%, it was the very next day, like, you need to do this thing. But then the divine timing of it, I rang my dad a few days later, so we've got to have this conversation. And the timing of it did not land and did not work until yesterday. And it was actually Friday last week. I did a session with Sarah, who's a therapist that works in the business, and did a mushroom journey and got the lesson, or the message was, why aren't you bringing your mother into this?
Oh, inclusion.
And so it couldn't land until I'd gotten to the place where I could see her in some way and go, well, like, she needs to be a part of that too. So it was this beautiful dance of allowance, not trying to force the conversation because I'd gotten the message.
You know, what you're saying is a stunning piece of art. Like, energetically, this is a piece.
Yeah.
Right? And to a lot of people listening, that would be like, cool. What I'm trying to say is, like, hearing that story from you feels different to me, because what I know of you, and I've no doubt people around you have experienced it, is you can follow an inspiration. Like, you can get a hunch, and you have whether it's something, the way you focus, the way you can discern, you can feel it enough to go, you'll follow that thread right to the end. Like, some people will be like, oh yeah, I got to do that or whatever. Because I've heard you say stories that some people get ideas. Yeah, you are very good at following something till it's done. Like, that is definitely something that you've got an elegance with.
So is that something that's teachable though? Because I've always had, it's an interesting point you make, because I've always had it in an inner knowing as a child, but it was also been told that like, it's wrong, it doesn't make sense, don't follow that thread, it's it's dangerous. So the path that I actually walked was me really fighting I really need to follow the threads, and so I'm gonna go my own way, in a way that you cannot possibly advise me, because you won't be anywhere near me.
There's so many contributing factors there. There's so many things. Like, one of the things is the way you were raised. You had to be supremely resourceful, and you had to trust on your instincts. And you are a wild woman who freedom is your breath.
Yeah, that's very true.
So if you you would have been a nightmare if you had more present parents who constantly, you actually had the perfect parents so that you could fly a flag.
Yeah.
So in that raising, you were training yourself. Over time, you've learned to feel the thread, like a good spider that weaves.
Yeah.
Like, where's the good bite? What's the feed worth chasing? You've put a web out now. Like, you've earned this creation. You've put to it.
Absolutely.
So that's one huge thing that's given you that flair of discernment. It's actually a virtue to be able to decide for the greater good. So first of all, you created yourself like that. And when you were telling the cookie story, I mean, we know all of us are wired to be divine creators, and we must. Like, if you're not birthing something, you feel like you're not a part of something. Like, that to me is an intuition game, right? Obviously, like the cookie game. And, intuition is like so quick, zero force.
Yeah.
Thinking is like from your, not quite, a little bit around the gut and up here. Like, it's like, I don't know. But if it's like really churning in there, often it's kind of like, queer dead, and it's gone.
Yeah.
I guess your future self, your higher self, is constantly throwing you cookies, if I can play with their game, to bring you back to a state of wholeness. So, the straightest way to somewhere is like a straight line, but we're like flies are all over the place. It doesn't matter, because one way or another, we're all going to get there. I think you're very good, because of how you've had to be self-reliant and attuned to you. You're very good at following a thread. And not only that, because you've done it so many times, you won't sleep unless you're creating. Like, you can't, you as a Hannah cannot do it. Yeah. So you're very, you're like a bright beacon to divine movement, because if we give you something, we know you're going to use it. Yeah. So you'll be given things, and that's called capacity, another beautiful virtue to work with, to have divine capacity to help a greater whole. People might think, she's always doing it, that doesn't happen for me. But you're resourceful with energy, and someone might see a butterfly and think it's a butterfly, but you might see it and go, okay, yep, sure. So you're very useful for good things because you put the meaning because you have this intention to create and help. So I guess that altitude of fearlessness, I guess, and trust, you can see where someone's at with their ability to tune in and follow something.
It's not fearlessness, it's utter courage. There's no fearlessness in any of this.
Oh, good. And he's shaking the whole time.
Yeah.
The best way to do it.
100%.
That's the true way to do it,
Yeah.
actually.
Yeah.
You're right. You're absolutely right. So, yeah, the cookie game feels like another fun way for that beautiful soul of yours. Like a lot of the times, the thing that you're pulled to do doesn't actually lead you to where you thought you were going.
It's actually a really interesting thing, like in being able to trust your intuition because of that. Because you've got this intention of getting here and the intuition says, but do this. And you're like, what?
Yeah.
And in trusting that though, and that's actually where the magic happens.
Yeah.
Like, and want to go there. And this looks like over there, which unsettles people around you. It can be difficult for people to be able to listen to that when people around you are saying, this makes no sense. You're being crazy.
Is that like almost coming to the brainwashing thing?
Maybe.
Yeah. Well,
yes, 100%.
Yeah.
It is, because it's the way that you speak that it is that thing that's within you that you should always listen to, and that would never tell you.
Oh, yeah.
Right? That would never tell you the wrong.
Well, we have to flesh that out because it's just so beautiful. So we were on the phone, you and I were having a talk about all life, the universe and everything pretty much. When you get an inspiration, like whether it's to write a book, take up boxing, get fit, do something, even as mild and subtle as call an old friend.
Yeah.
And then you just think, I can't call them, we didn't talk very well and they've probably still this or that, or I can't write because,
I'm not good enough, I'm not worthy.
Yeah, I'm tired and I don't know if I can train and it's hard because I've still got to do this and that. And then you look at everybody around you doing stuff and that sort of weighs you down even more, going, it's limited. Everyone else is doing it, there's nothing left for me. And then a week passes and then you're like, maybe I should call, like it haunts you again. And, the true you would never, ever tell you or give you something that it didn't want you to have the fullness for. You're not here to mess with your own head, despite how we're told that we are. We're absolutely not at all. And that's the courage with your knees shaking.
Yeah.
To believe that that's something, like to follow that more than fear. I mean, that's why, that's like the world right now, is to follow you without the fear of not enough, not this, not right timing. The invitation is the permission.
Yeah.
And the invitation is the moment the inspiration came. That's your invite.
It's so joyful to follow that. It is the most, like if we're trying to talk about how we can find dopamine, that's a good way. That leads to beautiful things.
Yeah.
To hear that and for it to be like, I'm going to do that because I was, that little moment, and it absolutely is not logical and doesn't fit the cultural standard of what you should be doing and how you should follow things, and if there's enough and if whatever it's put in place, and to go, well, soul says so, so yes, it is the most amount of dopamine I will experience.
What else happened with your parents that talk? Like, what were some other bits that stand out to you?
My mother actually, she was silent the entire time, and at the end of it she said, it's really interesting because you've kind of just told my entire story.
Oh, and what did that do to you?
It was a really big collapse for me. It was like, of course, as well, like, of course. And I fit into the family and it makes sense now. And the intellectual understanding that I have of generational trauma and all of these things, and me not really going, okay, maybe it's here, maybe there was some past life, but it's my mother directly that had experienced these things, and how much I needed to love and care for her so much more deeply because she's in exactly the same amount of pain. And to see the way that she operates as a human being and to understand that that's her pain.
When you say to see how she operates as a human being, like, do you notice behaviours where she's finding it hard to bring her full self, like she's stuck in a belief or something?
Yeah. She's openly, she can't express her emotions, so she hides. And she deals with a lot of anxiety, and So her full self comes out in moments, but it's mostly very hidden. And I've been frustrated with that my whole entire life, having a relationship with her, because I can see that. I'm like, I know it's in there. I want it. Let me have it. And so instead, there's just been a separation, because I don't like, why can't you just let it out? Why can't you just deal with it? Why can't you just be who you are?
You don't feel that anymore?
No.
Good.
No, not
Great.
at all.
Great. Excellent.
It's a full understanding, because I know the pain.
And you did it.
Yeah.
Like, you understand to embrace the fullness of yourself.
Yeah.
And that's where you opened the door for her.
Absolutely.
That's
I
very
watched that
beautiful.
crack of going, maybe I can.
And what about Dad?
Dad was an interesting thing. It broke his heart. I watched his heart break hearing the story, and he would have felt responsible.
Good man.
Yeah. And he always has felt responsible. We have done a lot of unpacking together. Maybe 3 years ago, he actually started seeing one of my therapists, Natasha. I handed him her number, and I said, I'm fine. Here's her number if you ever want help. And he did therapy for a while. And so we came to a place where we could unpack lots of things together. And this is why I react to this. And this is how this feels to me because of these reasons. We're able to have those conversations, but he's taken all upon himself and all upon his heart every time I've gone, well, this included you. My pain included you. So you could see that pain there. It went away the moment I was, all is forgiven. I could see him just go, I don't have to do this anymore, and I'm okay. And I understand that I am forgiven in this, and I did the best that I could.
So that's a lot of order. Like, once you've done that, you've organised so much information between the three of you that now they're just left to order themselves,
100%.
and like everything's in its place now.
Yeah.
But now we've got to like put new shelves in or whatever,
whatever
it is. So I wonder how he'll order himself, because I mean, every single person has that sense of responsibility, but it is different for a father, that sense of of a good father. And I'd be curious to hear a bit more about him in the future, because
maybe we'll bring him on.
I mean, that's an important conversation for people to hear. It's an important conversation for men to hear, for women to hear. It's for everyone, that conversation.
Yeah.
I think that's really worth having a discussion with him about.
Absolutely.
I would be fascinated in that.
I mean, I was talking to a guy who was looking at doing one of our programs in the Recovery Jungle about a month ago, and he was telling me about he had his 12-year-old daughter and he wanted to do this work now. I'm on this Zoom call, and I'm like, this is the most important thing as a daughter.
What was the work he wanted to do?
So there's a program that includes emotional processing therapy and food and fasting coaching. So it was like getting your body aligned and the toxins released and the inflammation gone, and dealing with the trauma and being able to feel your feelings and to release a lot of these things, as well as, the recovery side of things. So it's a holistic get your shit together, but especially that inner work. And he's looking at me going, I really feel like I need to do this for my daughter. And I'm, as someone that was a 12-year-old daughter once with a father, to do this work right now is the most important thing you could ever do. I feel like there's this, the men out there that are, in their 30s and 40s and 50s that are in this place and they have these daughters. Like, it's the most important thing they could do is start doing this work. Just by doing the work themselves, they don't need to even understand anything about their daughters. It helps them forever.
Absolutely. That process of detoxing to even eating beautiful foods is a spiritual thing, because you're putting your awareness on something, and anything you put your awareness on changes the way it behaves. Like I said, we're always up to something, and starting to bring better foods means you've got some information you want to transform. But inflammation, I don't know if you would have experienced this on your plant medicine journeys, but toxins and inflammation, we learned that, the body being that barometer of the soul, so much of that is like resistance to our creativity, resistance to being forgiving, and where that traps in the body is very telling of how it was created. And so if someone's wanting to reduce inflammation, if someone's wanting to eat better, it works on so many levels. Like, our soul is so clever at getting us aligned, because that's all it's ever trying to do every single day, whether it's using you to want to listen to a song, whether it's making you have the urge to go for a bushwalk. If you're getting urged to remove toxins and inflammation, that is hitting you on all four levels of your dimensional being, of like something in you is aligning you way beyond just your body. And that's that serendipitous part, like just getting involved with that. And I reckon, like, I would ask you now, with your work and with your place, you know how people come and go from the studio?
Sure.
Sometimes you'll just have that conversation at the counter where they are having more beautiful encounters with people or with themselves, or they want to study more of what they're receiving at your place. And even though you're removing inflammation, something in you is aligning you to be more unconditionally loving to yourself, to that temple that you are. Like you'd be healing so much more than the actual physical feelings of inflammation.
So I've got a client at the moment who's about to finish 12 weeks with us. And she came in because she wanted to get rid of some fat around her stomach and around her legs.
Oh, yeah.
And so we've got the full program for that. We have all the cool technologies, but it's also the emotional processing and the food and fasting. So it's anti-inflammatory food that's balancing hormones and the fasting. So her inflammation is gone. And about 10 weeks in, she quit her job and she's now going to go out on her own.
Wow.
And her whole relationship. It's actually, there's another guy that's in and he's like 4 weeks in and it was like, I need to get rid of some stomach fat and I need to get a little bit healthier. And he's 4 weeks in and he's stopped drinking, which is great. But he says it's like, I actually don't have an urge to drink ever again. It's just gone. These things are happening and it blows our mind every day. You know, we sit there with the team and we're almost in tears going, look at what we're doing.
Wow.
People are coming in because they're in a little bit of pain or they want to lose some weight and their entire beings change and their relationships change and they leave their jobs and go do their dreams. It's incredible.
Yeah, that is magic.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
I love it. Weight's so fascinating, isn't it? Putting on weight and understanding what we've been doing to ourselves, like what we've been holding on to.
Because you were the first person to, open my eyes. I was a fighter, and I had to make weight all of the time, and being on these crazy diets and starving and overtraining and still not being able to lose weight, and then being able to understand that maybe it's part of me that wants to protect me. Maybe it doesn't even want to fight. The inflammation was like through the roof with no explanation. My body wouldn't move at all. And it had nothing to do with, the calories or the training whatsoever. It's just irrelevant.
It's going to be a little bit different for everyone with weight because it's also like waiting for something.
Yeah.
Like a lot of people are waiting to feel great to start, or they're waiting for permission, like they're waiting to see that they will succeed to start succeeding, or they're waiting to see a certain something or someone come into their lives before they start caring for themselves in a certain way. But yeah, physical weight, Sarah Brexman Cosme talks at great length about her studies with hypnotherapy when she connects to people's higher selves and what weight is up to. So she's got more experience there than I do because she's had far more case studies of when they ask the soul, what's the weight about? And I mean, it's not going to make anyone go, wow, but it's like going against your word, reminders that you want to love and care for yourself. Like it was just so many obvious things, but and it's funny because we hear it and go, yeah, right, but what else could it be?
It's like you have the book and you can look it up and it asks you the question and you go,
right.
Yeah.
But what else?
Yeah. I heard someone say recently about I don't know, maybe it was an Instagram reel or something like that, about how addiction to awareness that was actually preventing the healing.
I don't think they understand like I need to understand. Can you
So rather than doing the work, it was like this like manic understand, like, oh, this is because of this and this is because of this and I'm having and now I know all of the reasons why and I haven't actually solved anything.
So that's just not being able to accept it and surrender it.
Yeah.
Like that serendipitous moment of, hey, I've made a mess of this. Here, can you fix it? If I touch it one more time, I'm dead.
Yeah. But how? Like I witness it a lot. I see my friends do it. They're almost laughing at. Oh yeah, because this is why and this is why and this is why and nothing's changing.
Because they're surveying.
Yeah.
They're not just participating and getting on with it. So I guess if you're going to use awareness, put awareness on your breathing and just let It's like you've done enough. Just drop it off. For an amount of time, how hard is it to believe that it's worth doing it? I reckon. I reckon that's the hard.
Yeah.
So all their tickets are on fear, are on trust, instead of trust. It's hilarious because if anyone's got to practice, you just think everyone's insane. Like, why breathe? Served up fresh, piping hot. What are you worried about?
Yeah.
So if you're not breathing, your attention is elsewhere. Like you don't think it would work, and you think that you're exclusive to being in a game of such.
I hear that a lot, actually.
Yeah.
Words that are around exclusive.
Yeah.
Mine's different.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah,
That's
yeah,
perfectly said, actually.
Yeah.
So, yeah, that's always interesting to me when I hear, like, why is it so hard? That's the wrong question. It's, why don't you think it would work?
Yeah.
And that's a spell, isn't it? Like, I'm different because, I've got this thing in my brain, or I've got this family, or I've tried everything. And that's a really mischievous sentence. That's that you're in a big trouble when I hear that line. I mean, I've heard myself say it before, and I'm like, oh, don't fall for that trap. Don't become unhelpable.
Yeah.
Like,
I get a lot of people, that's one of the lines I hear in my consultations all the time. I've tried everything. This is my last resort.
I hear that too. And I wonder, like, have they ordered themselves more to be more receptive to it now? Because everything works, you don't. Like, it's just that stuff. Like, it works. Everything works. If you do what it says, it works. If it's out there, most of the time it's working.
Yeah.
So maybe you're working better. So I think that's something I'd like to play with. Well, I guess I'd play with it when I'm working with someone. So can we keep them on that wave to get a sweet barrel in, like their own energy wave?
Yeah.
Of like, there's something paying a kind of attention. So I probably ask a ton of questions around that. So what's different with this moment for you right now?
Yeah.
Like, and
rather than what is different with this thing that we're about to do.
I think details are super important, because when I used to work with people on more of their physical body, and they'd say they've tried everything, and then I would slow down and say, okay, so when you tried this, how long for, and what did you do? And then it just becomes this, okay, so, and then what was the next thing you tried, and who did you do that with? So basically you were up all night on Google, and so you've learned a lot about mitochondria, but you're hoping you would osmose that 12-week process and become. So all those things that you've tried, you haven't tried. Nothing happened.
Yeah.
Nothing happened.
Yeah.
So I like to spend a bit of time in that moment with them.
I like that.
Because unless you know what you're up to, because you're always up, like, I don't know, and I don't mean it like waving my finger, you're up to something. Because sometimes you see someone having fun and you're like, what are you up to? Like, you want to play.
Yeah.
So everyone's always up to something. They're just hiding really well from themselves. They're hiding super well. And when they're coming there, they're saying, can you please turn all the lights on so I can pull myself out from under the bed and get on with it? Because I don't know what the hell I'm doing.
I love that, turning the lights on, right? I think that is the most important thing that I see. I probably actually need to go and look at the time someone helped me turn the lights on in that process.
That's an important process.
Yeah. Because one of the things that I find that is actually the most helpful in dealing with people in these things is saying the truth and turning those lights on when no one else is willing to turn the lights on because they're yes-menning a little bit. Let me just give you the service, like, actually, let's turn the lights on. And it's really hard. Like, I feel like that we can't step over the line. We can't, there's this unsaid boundary where it's, you just do what you're ready to do. It's like, come on. This is, you're being ridiculous now. And that moment of saying to someone, like, I call bullshit.
It was just about the lights on thing.
Yeah.
And, what I do want to pick up from that in regards to turning the lights on. Remember earlier on you were talking about, you see people like that all the time who are just grinding their business. And like, if only you could,
turn the light on.
Like, stop thinking that it's only this way, stop living in lack, but then bring it into yourself and be compassionate about it. So you can turn lights on all the time by being that light, right? There's just I just keep thinking of the word elegant. There's always a really elegant way to redirect someone as opposed to just totally trip them over. But, hence those quotes, is it destiny or don't tempt fate? Like, you don't want to tempt fate, because if you leave it for so long, yes, something will happen and go, I meant here. You don't want to tempt fate that way. You do want to stay with that course of destiny. But actually, honestly, my son has the greatest gift. That kid just came out turning on lights everywhere he goes. He just has an ability to confront with class.
Does he do it to you?
24/7. 24/7. Absolutely. We have to keep helping people turn their lights on. We have to serve every single day. We really, instead of being frustrated, either be the example or give a loving nudge. Like if you're going to judge it, just be the example of doing it better. But even with everything, we have to we're in a tricky point because we've been isolated a lot. We're on Zoom calls all the time. I mean, I went out for the first time in ages on the weekend. I haven't seen nightlife like that before. It's so quiet. And, we're losing that personal touch with the checkouts, with banks, with everything. And even in the council, it's harder to create community events. It's getting harder and harder. There are more systems in place that keep us more and more isolated. So, reach out, make that strange phone call, go, better yet, visit someone. Just get in your car and visit someone. I don't know how I steered it onto that, but it's about turning lights on. And that's the thing. It's like everyone would be excited to, sorry, I can see that you want to
go.
say
Keep
something.
going. I'll remember.
I mean, before it used to be how nice was it to get a letter in the mail. I remember I saw something recently about how we used to answer our phones 10 years ago.
Yeah.
We wouldn't even flinch. We'd just pick it up and go straight into a conversation. We don't even want to touch our phones anymore. I think we've got to get together physically so much more, and that's how the lights will turn on. We have to step out and just physically face to face, try to do more things off of Zoom.
Yeah.
And we're dying for it, dying to connect with people. And
we're also losing the ability to know how. How do I physically be here with you and presently connect with you without checking our phone or needing an activity? Yeah. Can I just really be here? It's uncomfortable.
Yeah. We don't want to become a retreat society. We've got to go away for a week and all we're talking about is our retreats, but we're still not integrating things enough. I mean, markets are great. There's a great market community in Adelaide. It's really cool. But more than that.
The retreat that I went to in America, it was beautiful. And the best thing that I got out of it was I decided to stay in a room with a house with 10 people. And I just did it. And I thought, oh, yeah, that's great. And I got there. And the first night I was like, what the fuck have I done? I hate people. Oh, my God. I lived by myself for 8 years and I can't do this. And I was talking to a friend the next day and I can feel all their energy. It's really difficult for me to sleep. There's I don't know if I need to create boundaries and space. And he said, well, what did you come here for? And I went, I'll lean in.
Yeah.
And the rest of it, I made breakfast for everyone every day and I stayed up to 1 o'clock in the morning and I had these deep conversations. And that was my favorite thing that I got out of it was, oh my God, I really love connecting with people. I want to have 20 housemates. And it changed everything. I never let anyone live with me or share my space because of that same thing, right?
You got your light turned up.
And, some of these girls are coming over to stay with me for months from the US and it's
Well done.
yeah, be in the house, let's be together. And I've found it really uncomfortable. I've had to learn how to be in the presence of other people in cooking breakfast.
Oh, definitely.
I want to also circle back before having the weird conversation or picking up the phone and saying that thing, say the thing. It's something that's come up I guess over the last month of when you that intuition thing of, oh, I just make that phone call. And I made a decision driving the other day of every moment that I need to say this to that person, voice note it, something, say the thing, even if it's super weird, even if it makes no sense, even if you might be judged for it. And every single time it's responded with total love and they're so appreciative that you've said something like that. And if we could just always say the thing the moment you think it, how much connection we could have.
That's gotten worse over time, which is why connecting it would naturally happen. Before, half of your sexual education was overhearing mums talk in the kitchen. Yeah. Kids were oh, same at my house. Okay, it's a normal thing to do. But we've just lost those normal, as a kid growing up, the way parents would hang out at, I remember I come from a Greek background, so it'd be a lot of spits, there'd be a lot of people hanging out together. So you'd overhear the men, you'd overhear the women. Yeah. You'd overhear a lot of stuff and half your education was just walking through a house. It's hey.
Yeah.
So, and they said a lot of things. They didn't hesitate. But then, there's why people do and don't express and they choose to suppress. That's that brainwashing thing.
Maybe we can do that.
I think that's an important thing.
Do you feel like that this is enough for the introduction?
Yeah, I do. Hopefully. Yeah, definitely.
Yeah. We can't actually find you on the internet, can we?
You can. I'm on Facebook.
Yeah.
That was supposed to be my 2024 resolution, was to be more active on social media. But yeah, I'm Sophia Houridis on Instagram. I do spell my name differently on Facebook.
I'm very sure that all the technological things can happen and we can put links. Thank you for doing
you so
this
much
with me.
Thank
I love you so much.
I love you too. And I'm really excited for what you've been doing for the past 10 years.
Thank you.
As a soul for everybody. Thank you. Thank you so much.